I could sleep last night, so
Hello, how's it going?
How are you?
I'm good.
I haven't seen you since
Here we are.
started really showing.
Yes, it's happening.
It is. It's
Hey,
real.
Amanda. Amanda, Warren.
Hey, girl, hey.
La famosa.
Hi, I'm Katie.
Hi, Katie. I'm Dad.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Nice to hear so much.
Right. I say maybe I should. There's probably gonna be more.
So how's business been? Kind of slow, but kind of doing a whole lot. I was actually considering like going home for a little bit.
Yeah.
But then a client called and was like, "What this thing?" So I got
Right.
so I'm like, well,
How it
maybe it's not a
works.
great time for me
Got
to do
your
that.
claws back in. You're like, okay.
Yeah. But then that kind of it's been a little back and forth because they have a home to sell. We were gonna kind of do a quiet listing for it.
Yeah.
We did a little bit, but then they didn't want to focus on that anymore. So they wanted to, we wanted to find them where they were gonna live.
Right.
They want to rent or anything in between. They haven't really been finding anything now with the rates and everything changing so much.
Right.
We're back on, we should probably go ahead and sell.
Right.
Might have changed. Might have changed a little.
Like, wait a second. What's even happening here?
So we're gonna be listing the home now, like for real, not just for my list.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Yeah,
Well, that's exciting. And they haven't yet found where they want to go next.
which is kind of scary.
Yeah.
But because it's shifting a little bit, we're seeing more come on the market, so there have been more.
Right.
Whereas before it was like,
Right.
there were possibilities.
Like who? I know that's always a fun puzzle to
Yeah,
solve. Like
Yeah.
the timing and the how do we do this? How does it look like?
so that's why I'm here.
Right. You're like,
I'm gonna figure this listing out. You knew you wanted to meet Matt?
Yeah, I know. I'm Ashlyn.
Ashlyn, I need that. Nice to meet you. It's nice to meet you.
It's so hot in
Mhm.
here.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, 77.
Oh, lovely.
Like 70.
Oh,
Jesus.
that's the clock. How do you do that? Okay, I'm gonna have some.
Surely there's a.
God, it's not off.
Oh, yeah, product beyond, cool, that part's important. What'd you say your name was?
I'm Ashlyn.
Ashlyn, good to meet you, I'm Libby.
Nice to meet
And you're finishing up Ignite? Oh, awesome, how have you liked it so far?
I've loved it.
Good.
All the agents are so nice. And
It is
we're
like
learning a ton.
learning, yeah, drinking from a fire hose, right?
Yeah.
It's like, okay. Oh, that's great. Jim, you came to teach us?
I'm not to learn from you.
Oh, gosh, that's not.
That's what I'm still in the front row where I have to pay attention.
Right, you're like, ah. Oh, man. All right, well, it's 11, so we'll go ahead and get started. Hi, people online. I'm gonna just sit where you can't see me because I'm not that pretty to look at anyway.
Oh, you look
How are you?
Forgive me in advance, there's one urgent call,
You're
I will
fine.
have to walk out of the room.
You are totally fine. No, I'm glad you're here. It'll be a fun conversation.
Hey.
And I don't have it. Yes, come in, please, please. Oh, Marjorie too? Okay, well now we've got like a whole panel of people to learn from. I mean, seriously.
Libby's teaching, you gotta come
Oh,
out.
hi.
Exactly. But if you were teaching, we would come out all the time.
Exactly.
Thank you very much.
Or anybody in this room, right?
That's right.
Libby,
So
no
much.
pressure. Libby.
No, I know. No pressure at all. I'm prepared for a whole, not at all. But we're gonna have some fun. So we're talking about pricing today, which is really fun that it matters again. Who remembers a market where it mattered how you priced your listing, right? I mean, it's like, here we are again, but we haven't seen this in 2 years?
2 years, little over.
Yeah, like almost 2.5 years. Really, and not to say that pricing was not important at all during the COVID craziness, but the market was incredibly forgiving for a really long time because demand was so high. Buyers didn't think much of it. It was more of just like, this is the price, that's the starting price. It's going to be bid up by X amount, and it doesn't matter. Like, even as agents, I'm sure there are still agents that are checking comps and looking at that as they're advising clients, but mostly that conversation of checking comps to advise your buyer clients on where to come in offer wise is to help figure out appraisal, not to come up with an offer price strategy, but more of just like, ooh, how that's appraisal, how that could be appraisal hurt us. So it's very
Hello?
different right now, because we are back in a market where the pricing is really important. Buyers in every market, buyers want value, right? So they want to see the house. They want to get a good value no matter what the market is like. Even in the craziness in the past 2 years, if they saw value in it, those are the ones that had the craziest offers. If the ones, even in the past 2 years, the houses that needed a lot of work or not an ideal location or, something like that, didn't have the craziness that the other houses had. So buyers always care about value, and really, especially now, I think it's very interesting with like how the interest rates are, and they're really kind of down-ish again. I mean, they're not 4s, but we're in the mid-5s instead of 6 or above. But still, in a buyer's mind, they're kind of panicking, thinking, is the bottom going to fall out? What's going to happen? Oh my gosh. And they are having to pay more with their mortgage than they were going to have to pay if they bought in February this year. So a lot of their dollars are going towards the mortgage, and and if they can, it's like, okay, well, maybe we were only going to put 15% down. Now we have to put 20% down to get our monthly payment at a comfortable level. What that means is there's less cash for most buyers to do things like replace carpet, to do things like repaint, to do things like gut a kitchen. There are still going to be some buyers that have the cash to do that, but because contractors are really hard to get, and I think mostly money just costs more to borrow. The buyers still want the move-in ready, updated. I don't have to lift a finger, and all of my dollars can go towards getting my monthly payment, more comfortable instead of having to go to fix up the house, right? So it's like, but that's always the case. Buyers always want the pretty move-in ready houses. That doesn't change in any market. Those are always the ones that are popular. But I think with pricing, we have to become really strategic, and we have to be the experts for our sellers. A lot of times sellers already have an idea. It's pretty common for sellers to miss the market. I don't know about you guys, but my phone started ringing with listing leads the second I felt a shift. It was like May, and I was like, oh, my last listing didn't get multiple offers. What's happening? Oh, now I have 5 listing appointments in the next 2 weeks. Okay, because sellers generally, they don't realize they missed the market, but they do. And it's not like they completely missed it. Oh, well, now you can't sell your house and doom and gloom. I'm not saying that. But we're no longer in the period where it's like, yeah, what do you want to do for price? Sure, let's do that. We'll get multiple. Okay, go out of town for 1 weekend. The house will be sold. No contingencies. That's not the reality. So that's what I mean when I say they miss the market. It's not that they won't sell, not that it won't get a high price, but it's not the madness we saw this spring, for sure.
Just anecdotally,
Yeah.
how many properties y'all have appraised over the past year?
Under appraised?
We're doing appraised. I mean, anybody have a problem with that at all? Even,
I
I haven't heard very many.
Very little.
Yeah, only
And only by a little bit.
Yeah, it
Right.
wasn't a big.
Does that surprise you all? There was prices going up and up and up and up and up.
Right.
We didn't have more appraisal issues?
The thing that saved everybody is the
Yeah.
cash buyers. They were the nemesis,
Yes.
but they reset the price.
They reset the
And
price.
every time you'd go, oh, there's no way, be ready for 70 grand out of pocket. 2 more would close.
Yes.
And boom, you had your.
Absolutely.
Well, I also think that we might have had more issues if so many people weren't just covering the appraisal gap to begin with in their offer.
Right.
Yeah,
So-
it
so
came in
it
their
wasn't-
offer.
it wasn't
And it
a-
came, because I would say the only ones that I
People
have
already
didn't
saying.
appraise were close, and there was already a gap, and so they.
Yeah.
That's
It
what
is
happens
like, it
with
is what
us.
it is.
And then you had companies like Ribbon that were paying gaps for people for 2 years.
Yeah.
They do
That's
it-
great.
They do it
That was
different now,
amazing.
but they were paying, I mean, I had
Oh, do they
clients
do it
where
differently now? I didn't know that.
it's a little bit different now where the buyers have a little more skin in the game, but
Yeah,
I mean, before that happened, I had clients, they paid 20,000, 13,000,
Wow.
6,000 for them on the gap.
Yeah,
So
that's-
they calculated wrong.
that's
So
why.
that kept the market, yeah.
I had
Yeah.
buyers say they would cover the appraisal gap, then ask my seller to come down to appraised value, and we're like, no.
Right, hey, read your contract.
Yeah. Hello.
Have to be.
They said, well, never hurt to ask.
Yeah.
Which is true.
Which is true, it never hurts, because some people are like, oh, sure, give $1,000, throw a bone. Well, really, I think that with pricing for a listing, we have to be the experts and have to go in giving really solid advice based on facts. It can't be like oh, I don't know, where should we? Like, we have to come in and really advise as the expert, because they need that confidence from us. But it is hard and it's challenging, because especially as the market shifts, we don't have a crystal ball. We don't know what buyer demand is going to be the following weekend, but advising them with confidence, I think, is incredibly important, because that's what they're paying you to do, is to be the expert. So we have to come in with confidence, even if we don't always feel 100% confident ourselves. So it really is digging into comps, and especially right now when so many of the comps are kind of overinflated. I'm not saying overvalued, but like, you have to be very careful on, oh, well, this one sold for $550 last month. Really, it went on the market a month before that, so it's 2 months old. So, and you're bigger, so you will get $575. Like, you have to be very careful in that right now, because there isn't the buyer craziness and frenzy that there was. That the buyer demand, it's still there. There are still buyers out there, especially for great houses. There always will be.
Yeah.
But I think you have to be really cautious looking at comps, going, how aggressive do we want to be, and explaining what the risks are, because we have exactly one shot for that first impression. You know, yes, you can do a price reduction, but we've all seen the stats, and it's a great time. I should have brought those with me. but it's a great time to be bringing the stats with you to listing presentations. I won't lie, I stopped bringing them
Yeah.
in the past 2 years because it was like, no, who cares what the stats say? It'll be what it is. But it's a great time to bring those back and show Mr. Seller, you actually see here what will happen if you price the home on the high end and you'll sit and sit, you actually end up making less money than if you would have just priced it right on from the start. So why don't we get it right and price it right on from the start? Because that's the statistics always show the sellers make less money if they try to shoot the moon and then have to price reduce. So even if you have to price reduce one time, statistically speaking, you make less money than if you just nailed it on the first go around. And it's true that I don't think you can underprice a property, but at the same time, you want to make sure that you're showing your seller. I think the line that I like the best is, we are going to get you every dollar that the market will allow. Because you're reminding the seller, I don't create the market. You don't create the market. I'm here to interpret the market for you and to get you every dollar that the market will allow for you. However, there's a lot of this that is not in your control. You can't pretend that it is, because we don't know what's going to happen. And I do think that this, if you haven't read Shift, it's a great time to pick this back up. I've kind of skimmed the chapter. What chapter is this? I guess it's tactic number 7, pricing ahead of the market. But I do think that this is a great time to kind of look at this, because as the market changes, and it's still a seller's market, right? It's just that we have a couple months inventory instead of a couple days or a couple weeks inventory, and that's a vast change, So whether you want to call it a shift, I'm not saying shift as in we're a buyer's market. I just mean shift as in, oh my God, we went from 7 days inventory to a month and a half, and we're still adjusting because that was a big change. We have to know the importance of pricing things right, because there are a few less buyers, and some buyers have decided to step back and go, oh, I want to see what happens, or I need to save more money, or I don't know if this is the time for me. Like, if you don't have to buy right now, you might not, like if you don't have a solid reason and you were just kind of entering the market for fun, it's like, oh, well, I'll stay where I am.
Yeah.
So we got to price it ahead of the market. And I like that in Shift, there's graphs that talk about this, and I thought it was, it's kind of the tale of two markets. So I'm experiencing this right now, and I don't know if you all are, but like, it feels like for whatever reason, Roswell, Alpharetta, Milton, for example, most every price point there, still crazy hot, right? Where it's like, you're gonna get multiple offers, and they might not be insane offers, but like, my buyer's not just 2 weeks ago got beat out by 50K. And I'm like, God, what month are we in? Like that's not happening as much in a lot of other areas and a lot of other price points. But there's some pockets, and then of course there's some houses, right? House is perfect, it's beautiful, it's fully moved in ready, it's great schools, great neighborhood, it's got all the things, there's nothing against it. And so it goes crazy. So, and then there's others that are, gosh, I feel like I priced this right. I didn't have an offer the first weekend. I'm kind of freaking out because it's been a while since I had to dust off those conversations with sellers. It's been a while since I had to send an update email to a seller, because usually it's the email is, hey, we're under contract, congratulations, here's the next steps. Instead of going, hey, here's what our showings were, here's what did go under contracts this week. Like, you got to dust off those skills that we haven't used in a while. But I think there is kind of a tale of two markets, where there's still some houses that have the madness and the frenzy and the chaos, right? Go ahead.
Do you think that has something to do with how high rental rates are in those areas too?
I think so. I think that,
That's what I was
and I
saying.
also feel like for whatever reason, Roswell, Alpharetta, I think there's people that really want that 400 corridor, and demand is just higher in that pocket than it is even in East Cobb. So I'm like, I don't really know why. And I know, a lot of companies are making people go back to work. So I'm sure commute times, and obviously still have really great schools and stuff going on. But rental, rental prices everywhere are kind of crazy. And I'm sure that does play a factor.
Especially there.
Yes.
The rates, yeah.
Right, because it's like, you can't get anything affordable except for, Mimos Elementary, which nobody wants to be in that part. You're right, it's like,
Libby, so what is the conversation? My neighbor's house sold for $550 6 months ago, and I've got a house that has a basement that's fully furnished. It's fabulous. I should be able to get 600.
Yeah, and it's really kind of looking at, are they at all accurate first? You know, you kind of have to really go, okay, your neighbor got this amount. And it's not saying that your house is worth the same, but it's more just looking at it and going, what is happening, what's happened around your area in the last 2 weeks?
Gotcha.
That's a lot more important than what happened in your area 6 months ago. And kind of getting the finger to the pulse. Like I had one in Roswell that I was advising them, we're not listing yet, keeps pushing back. He's like, how about second week of August, which is exactly when I'm doing. I'm like, yeah, that's great, let's do that. But he, for example, this is like real life example, I had kind of been advising him first, and I think most of us probably do this. I never give it one price, I give a range, because it protects you from, if you're wrong, they don't go back and go, Miriam, you told me 575. Instead, I said 550 to 575. We tried 575. It was in the comfort level. Everything I was reading said, like looking at, made it look like, yes, that would be successful. But shoot, the market is telling us otherwise, because the market does give us feedback, and it gives us feedback by, hey, it's been 2 weeks and we've had 15 showings and no offers. The market's telling us we're too high. Yeah. But if you give them a range, it's like, yeah, we went on the high end of the range and the market didn't agree with us. Bummer. So now we need to go for the low end, and the strategic thing would be to take a large price cut to expose it to new buyers. But anyway, so there's this guy, and I've been kind of telling him 550, and he's like, I really think 580. But I found out there's a house that was not nearly as nice as his. It's not as nice finishes, not as nice yard, needed more work. And they were at 569.9, and it went under contract the first weekend at full list price. And I was like, okay, I mean, you're clearly better in every way than this one, and that's 570. So no, and we're bigger, better yard, you know, slightly more updated in some areas, more updated, you know, so it was like, okay, that's not unreasonable. Let's put 580. And also, I'm telling you this number, but this number could change again because we're talking now, but we're listing in 2 weeks. So, you know, I'm gonna continue to watch the market, because it's like you have to watch and adjust as every week goes by. And okay, what's happening right now in the market?
I think it was Mary Caffrey tells her sellers, it's like aiming an arrow at a target that's hundreds of yards away.
Yes.
And you price it on a day that's calm, but what you need to do is check the wind, right?
Yes.
Because it will affect where your arrow goes.
I like that.
And I love that so
That's
much.
a great illustration for sellers, especially when, oh, okay, that makes sense. I know, I think Paige Morgan says every price has an expiration, like a gallon of milk. It's just not printed on the gallon, so we're kind of guessing. So I'm giving you this price now, but that price might be sour in, you know, 2 weeks. We just have to kind of keep watching.
The confidence is probably the hardest part for all of us, when sellers are almost screaming in our ear,
Right.
look what they got, look what they got.
Right.
So one thing I've done, I was a reporter in my previous career, so I'm very comfortable calling anyone at all
Right.
times. And it just is so helpful. Call
Yes.
those agents. Doesn't matter if they're Keller Williams.
Right.
The last couple of weeks, I have called literally every listing agent and every active listing in East Cobb in my price ranges. They
Yeah.
appreciate it. I have learned so much.
Right.
It gives you that real, some of them are so panicked, they say, God, so it's not just me, I'm not in this
Right.
alone.
Absolutely.
And it makes us all smarter, stronger, better. And
Absolutely.
then you can tell your seller, I have spoken with all these people.
Right.
The ones you're looking at priced here, got this much over because they had 7 offers. That's not happening right now. And here's what I'm learning from active listings that have been on the market for 14 days, 30 days.
Right. Right.
It gives you that confidence.
Absolutely. Well, and that's really what, again, like the seller's paying, I mean, again, I know there's discount brokers out there, but for the most part, we're going to assume that the seller is hiring you at the same price that they're hiring anybody else. Let's just do that.
Yeah.
If you're the one doing that, you're bringing the value versus another agent who goes, I don't know, that's weird. Why are we sitting? I don't know. You know, it's like,
Focus group.
yeah, so it's like you're earning your commission. You're showing your value by, I'm doing all this research, I've got my finger on the pulse of the market, this is what other people are experiencing. Because sometimes it is just the timing. You list something the 4th of July weekend and your seller's pissed on Monday on 4th of July itself when you don't have offers. Could you have picked a worse time to list? Like, you know, even realtors go on vacation around 4th of July weekend. Like, you know, that's like a long time. That and Christmas, it's like, come on. Like, you know, so it's like some of it is timing and you can figure that out when talking to other agents. And other times it's like, oh yeah, here's the real story of what's going on. And a lot of times too, these sellers are smart. They talk with their neighbors, there's always gossip on Nextdoor or their Facebook groups. So they know some things. Our job is to know more than that about the market and about their specific market. Even if it's not the market you live and breathe, you better do that legwork for them to show them, okay, yes, you're right, that this did sell for 400,000. What you might not realize, they gave 8,500 in closing costs. So the net to the seller is, you know, and those things matter and set you apart, and it establishes that trust right away where the seller goes, okay, I don't have to do all of my own research. She knows what she's doing. I'm hiring her to be the expert, and I can relax and let her be the expert because she knows what she's talking about. So a lot of it is kind of that research, coordination with other agents. And when you don't know and when you're stuck, ask for help, you know? Like, I mean, Miriam, you're so good at that, even like pre-listing, going, okay, here's what I'm thinking, what do you guys think? And I want to see this, because you do only get the one shot, but even after you list, you can still correct things. It's not like you're doomed forever. But I think the tale of two markets, this little graph, I think is so accurate. So this is your price versus comps, below the comps, above the comps. And then here's the condition compared to the comps, better than comps, worse than comps. So right here, if you're priced below where comps are and your condition is kind of better than where the comps are, you're really in the market no matter what the market is, even if it is shifting, changing. If you're priced on the lower end and your condition is better, of course you're going to get interest. It doesn't even matter how many months supply there are, there's going to be interest. If you are priced kind of trying to push the price, and especially if you're in a little slightly worse condition, or maybe your yard is worse, or you have road noise, you have power lines, or whatever the thing is, you're in some way worse, you're out of the market. So yes, you might be listed, but you're open door. You're the ones that are just sitting and every buyer goes, oh, I don't want to look at that one, because they don't actually consider you being in the market. So we have to price in a way where we really, no matter what the market is, that we're in the market, and share that with sellers. Of like, we don't want to price ourselves out of the market, because what happens is then we're going to be chasing the market, and we're going to be doing these price reductions, and it's not enough and not enough, and it's stressful too. Like, so I always remind sellers, it's not fun to keep the house perfectly show ready. It's not fun.
What are we doing on the SAT test?
The house at XYZ time, and you have to leave again and make sure it all looks good. You know, it's like, it's not a fun experience for anybody. So it's like,
Yeah.
it matters. And if you price it right, you're gonna have
I can't do it today.
not as frustrating for anybody.
Okay.
Any other thoughts or questions or real life challenges that anybody's having?
And by the way, last night mom fixed my TV.
Hey, Nisha, you might want to go on mute.
Now it'll probably sell like $10 more expensive.
That she sold two houses, one at $450 and one at $925. And she said she underpriced both of them, below market, and got multiple offers in two different areas.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Gary Keller says you cannot underprice a house.
Yeah.
Does the seller want to hear that though?
Seller does not want to hear that.
No.
That's reality, isn't it?
And I feel like I've had this string where I've gotten lucky, and that's what I tell my sellers too. It's like, hey, we got lucky. Even this weekend, I priced a condo at 210, which was it's fair compared to comps, because there are comps that were more updated at 215 to 220. But how many more buyers would have gotten at 200 versus 210? And I knew that, but also, just because I priced it at 200 in this market, does that really mean I'm gonna get 210? No. So we said, let's try 210. in my opinion, knowing we might be slightly high, and guess what? Katie did the open houses for both of them. We had guests.
Wow.
No scheduled showings. That's all it takes. I'm not advertising that type of research. So and it's also reminding the seller as well as with pricing. You're reminding the seller constantly. It only takes one. We have to be appealing enough for everybody to want to come and see us. But the fact that you didn't get multiple offers when your neighbor got multiple offers 3 months ago, well, guess what? They only sold their house to one person. We're only going to sell your house to one person. Whether there's multiple offers or not, it only takes one strong offer to get us to the closing table. So that's kind of always the goal, is like, yeah, multiple offers is great. However, in this market, we can't plan for it. You know, we can't assume that we're going to get it, but let's set yourself up for, you know, to get the strongest offer.
That's the, oh, go ahead.
I might be going back a little bit, but
You're good.
so now when we're talking about like that range and pricing at the higher end, you know, before it used to be, there was kind of that, not rule, but that guidance of, you know, whether or not you had 10 showings or any
Right.
offers in however many days. Like, where do you think that is now before you would reduce?
I
in this
still
market?
think it's 2 weeks.
I think so too.
I think, and that's what I prepare in my listing presentations. It's like again, it's not a conversation, and I still said it the past couple of years. I said, hey, it's not going to be an issue. However, if it's, you know, but it's something that is just ingrained in my scripts when I'm in a listing presentation is, you know, we're going to price it right here. Because I think I agree that's within our range. Let's try it. However, the market gives us feedback pretty darn quickly. So if it has been 2 weeks or 10 to 15 showings and we don't have any offers, we're probably off by 5%. You know, if we've had no showings in 2 weeks,
Yeah.
gosh, we might really be in la la land. Like, we might be off by 10%. That's a big chunk of change. You know, so it's, and I kind of prepare them for that. Do I always take 5 and 10% price reductions? No, it is very dramatic. Sometimes you can take 10K off and it's successful, but do I want to prepare my sellers to take dramatic? I want to at least prepare them for that. And then, you know, if we only adjust by 2 or 3%, hey, that wasn't so bad, right? I told you we might have to adjust to 5 and we're not going that crazy. So yeah, but I do think that, I think about 2 weeks. I mean, do you guys agree? You said you agree.
I say about 10 to 14 days. And
Yeah.
I always say the same thing up front too, that the market's gonna tell us
Right.
priced right or not.
Yeah.
And then I do what you kind of said, is just remind them in the beginning that overpricing forces you to have to drive your price down as opposed to buyers bidding up and driving the
Yes.
price up.
Exactly.
Ultimately, it's their decision, but at least you're setting all the expectations up front.
Exactly. And another thing I've had to kind of change my rep, like I have one seller who I've been talking with her since at least April, maybe before then, maybe March. And at first she's building new construction. And her brother is the builder, so it's kind of a, you know, weird family thing. But I told her when we first started talking, it was like, let's catch this market before it shifts. We can get you 60 days possession for free.
Yeah.
Building got delayed and the 60 days and it didn't line up. And all of a sudden I called her in June, hey, how are things looking? Gosh, I think we need to delay again. Okay, that's fine. So by the time we started talking again, I said, hey, I know we were talking about those 60 days possession for free. It's not smart for us to plan for that anymore. The market, I'm not saying that it's impossible for you to get it, but whereas before all buyers had to be willing to do it, now we might limit our buyer pool if we're insisting on that. And we don't ever want to limit our buyer pool, especially if it's already lower than it had been a few months before. So we're making adjustments where it's like, okay, that's fine. Let's list later and I can, you know, my brother can figure out the closing and all that. But it's making different plans of like, if you have sellers that you promised, oh, we can get you possession, no problem. Oh, we'll get you a non-contingent offer, no problem. You might want to go back. Like even I accepted an offer with a sales contingency this weekend. I was talking to my admin this morning. I'm like, yeah, we probably haven't accepted one of these since 2019.
Yeah.
but it was our best offer, you know, it was like, we had multiple, and I'm like, it's 10K more, and you know, I'm like, it's our best offer.
And so how have y'all changed your dialogue with the seller? You're saying that it's not gonna happen, didn't want much property, the market's changed. What have you changed in your dialogue now to where you're no longer saying, we probably got to get 15 offers, probably, we'll have no contingencies. What have you changed your dialogue right now that is different than it was maybe a month ago?
That's a great question. How about you guys answer first? Anybody? Yeah.
I think two things. One is I explained that it's a little bit of a tale of two cities.
Yes.
You've got the graph in and outside the market.
Yeah.
Whereas 3 months ago, 2 months ago, there was forgiveness, I think was
Yes,
the word you used.
yes.
Buyers forgave a lot more. They don't forgive it now. They don't have the money to do the
Yeah.
updates. They don't have the money to come above appraised value.
Mhm.
So the homes that are perfect are still experiencing that incredible interest, multiple offers and going higher. And then the homes that have some challenges, either they're not that updated, they require updates, the yard's not good, there's road noise.
Yeah.
Those things are very much back in play, and they really
Yeah.
are more of a consideration again.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, I feel like we're back to really having to explain to sellers, traditionally, your first offer is the best.
Yes.
And we may have to really, really consider that when you get an offer. I know you've heard everybody saying they had 5 offers, 10 offers. One of our friends got yelled at by a seller because she only got 1 full price offer after the
Yeah.
first weekend. They're grief stricken.
Yeah.
These sellers cannot believe
Yeah.
they've missed the craziness, and it's devastating to them. So the more we handhold up front and say, this is what you need to be ready for.
Right.
Because I feel like it was not the smartest thing to do for 1 or 2 of my sellers to wait through the weekend.
Right.
We had a buyer literally withdraw a fantastic offer. And then we sat on the market and had to reduce.
Right.
And it
we
was
ended up
by
making-
far that traditional first offer is the best. Like you, that, oh my God, we got 1 offer after
Right.
3
Let's
showings.
go.
So I
Yeah.
feel like unless you have the perfect house, you might really want to tell your sellers, even if it's not full price, we might want to really
Yes.
nurture that first offer.
So,
Because-
Miriam,
yes.
did you, in that scenario that you were talking about, where you got the offer, did they have the time, they weren't more forgiving of a longer time period on the offer?
They,
and then
no,
just-
the unfortunate thing is they
Yes, they
gave
have.
us the time we asked for. They gave us through Monday. And as we didn't get other offers in, by Saturday midday in low showings, I said to my seller, I think you may want to go ahead and respond to this offer. We're not getting others saying they're sending
Yeah.
them in. And we decided if there were no other offers by Sunday morning, she was just going to go ahead and accept it. So Sunday morning, I could tell nothing else was coming. So I texted the agent and said, I'm excited to tell you, the seller doesn't want to make buyers wait, so I think we're going to respond. I didn't even admit.
No.
I think we're going to go ahead and respond on Sunday. And he said, I'm so sorry. I was just preparing a withdrawal.
Oh, man. And
And what's terrible is
offer withdrawal.
and we had been planning to list since last November, and it was a probate delay.
Oh,
and
right,
we could have so easily been a slam dunk if we,
right.
and instead we hit right when the market was, and
Yeah.
first I thought, oh, the market's not shifting. Well, let me tell you, it absolutely
Yeah,
did.
I
But that's why this whole tale of two cities is critical.
Yes.
But I love stats so much, and it's my armor. It's me being able to say, let them arrive at the decision themselves. I don't
Yeah.
ever want to be nailed on a price. I want them
Right.
to feel like, oh, this is what we want to list at.
Right.
So I've brought stats all along, because even in the peak of the craziness,
Right.
rate is only 10% failure, but are you kidding me? 3 months ago, still 1 out of
Right.
10 homes didn't sell in that market.
Mhm.
It was my point to them, you can fail anytime if you overprice.
Right. It's like,
Anytime.
let's get this right. I have a story of one that I'm representing the buyer, but this is just kind of the greedy seller doesn't win in this market, right? Like if you're being greedy, it's not the market for that. So they listed on 4th of July weekend. I was out of town, sent my showing assistant to show the house, wrote an offer on, I think they listed on Thursday, but no showings till Friday. We wrote the offer on Friday, full price. It was a VA offer, but for full price and quick close, no special requests, clean otherwise beside it being VA. And I sent it to the listing agent and I said, hey, if you got other offers, let me know. I didn't put an escalation clause, like it was just like full price, let me know if you get other offers. And we only I think we gave till Sunday maybe, or I don't know, but we didn't give a super long time and we'll see. And she responds, hey, we really love your offer. Do they have to be VA? And I explained it's way better rate. Yes, we're going to tempt it down, but yes, it needs to be VA. Okay, well, we really love your offer. Seller was hoping it was priced at 5. So this is a 500 even offer. We really love your offer. We don't have other offers. Seller really wants 515 to 519.
Oh.
No.
And I go, good for them. And in my head, I'm also thinking, why didn't you price it at 515 then? Because you might have gotten it the first weekend. Buyers aren't like really digging into comps the very first day on the market. You might have gotten 515 if you had priced it at 515. But you just told me, you showed me your card. You told me you don't have other offers and you buy. So I'm like, okay, no. So then and she says, we're going to do an open house, or I don't know. And she's kind of communicating to me, but I'm telling my buyers, let's let this one go. Let's see what happens. I bet you can get it for below 500 if they don't have offers after. But it's Tuesday, so it's like, I think July 5th. I think it was on a Monday, 4th of July. And they're like, God, no, we love this house. We love this house. It's a 9 out of 10 for us. Let's try one more time. And I said, okay. And they decide we're going to go 505 because that's like the strongest that they felt comfortable doing. I said, great. And I said, if we do this though, because I'm telling them, I think you can get it in the 4s. So I'm telling them, if you want to do this, let's give a firm 24 hour. Like you have to respond to us in 24 hours. And they said, yeah, let's do it. So we send it in. And sure enough, the next day, I was really working with them on it. Oh, they want 510. And I go, okay, we're going to do an open house this weekend and I'll check in with you. So she checked in with me this weekend. I said, sorry, we wrote an offer somewhere else. Well, we didn't end up getting it because that one was priced correctly and it did get multiple offers. But we didn't win because we're VA. And we came back around to them the next Monday or Tuesday, like a week after our 505 offer. And we sent in a 490 and we got it accepted. And then during due diligence, I got $12,000 in closing costs from the seller. And I was like, all right, that's a lot better than 505. We're looking at like what, 477, 478. Like that's a pretty good difference. And that really was a seller that you can tell, and this isn't a pretty experienced agent, but you could tell the seller was leading the charge, that the seller had the control, not the agent. We want what we want. We think we can get it. Yeah. We're realizing the time we can't get it. Oh crap, maybe this is our best offer after all. Oh my gosh, we're not making nearly as much money as we could on this house, so it's like the pigs get fat and hogs get slaughtered, that's
They lost like 40, 50 grand on that, huh?
Well, I mean, 490 and then 12K.
Well,
so
I mean, with the initial
505,
yeah,
it's a lot of money. Yeah, I might get 20 something. So
wow,
yeah, it was a big swing. So I do think, I mean, for me, how I'm adjusting it with sellers is I'm kind of, I do not promise multiple offers, and I kind of tell them, you might have heard of neighbors or friends getting multiple offers and the craziness that was. I want you to know we're not seeing that as much now. It's still a great time to sell because prices are still great as long as we're pricing it correctly and as long as you're getting it ready for the market. But there are these things that matter more now. The condition matters more now. The price matters more now. And like I still remember even as it was kind of changing, how silly some people looked when it's like, you're listing on a Thursday, highest and best due Monday at 10 a.m. And I'm like, you haven't allowed showings yet. You don't really need a highest and best. Like, that's not actually doing the best for your seller.
No.
So it's really kind of morphing to the market that is, not the one that was, not the one that you think it is. It's like, you don't want to be that agent that just looks really dumb for asking for the moon as a listing agent going, maybe I should just be humble and grateful when we get a good one good offer and not let it pass us by.
I've
Hey,
seen that
Libby.
a couple of times now with the multiple offer thing,
Yeah,
but
really
even
don't
now.
know. Oh,
Yes, question?
Hey, Libby, it's Gina Forbes. Quick
Hey,
question.
Gina.
Are you finding that when you're listing a house, that it's kind of going more old school where you have to do a little bit more courting, maybe some more open houses, making things look a little prettier? Whereas a couple of months ago, you couldn't even schedule an open house because you already had
Yeah.
other offers already on the table. So
Yes.
more
No,
old school that way, caravans, things like that.
I definitely think so. And I'm somebody who always, even in the craziness, spent a lot of time getting my listings at least like picture ready. It might be that it was like, gosh, the time is of the essence, like we need to list it quickly, but like every time I meet my photographer and I always am sweating by the end, especially being pregnant. I'm like, oh my God, it's a lot of work. I'm like shoving their stuff into drawers, making it look as good as I can, you know? So that's kind of always been me, but I think it's more important now than it was before. And I do think like, yeah, we talk through, I'd love to do open house if you're comfortable with it, it's still your decision. But most of the time they let me do open house and door knock your neighborhood and let them know. And, you know, it's like, and it's a good thing because we get to do more advertising. You know, we have a chance to possibly get more leads from our listings that, you know, those were harder to capture when things were so crazy. So it's a great thing for us, but if you were lazy and just put the sign in the ground, it's not the time for just putting it in the MLS, putting a sign in the ground and, you know, praying it sells. It's like, no, you might have to do a little bit more detective work and feedback throughout and kind of letting them know what's going on.
How do you feel about the agent caravans and things like that? Because I started this career during the frenzy, so never really got to that point where I could take advantage of something like that. What are your thoughts on
I
that?
mean, I would like to hear from Mary because you've had a couple in the past 2 months, maybe. I mean, have they been successful with getting feedback to say, why did you do it? And what was, do you feel like the outcome? Like, how was it helpful?
my seller had shoot for the moon, actually shoot for the Milky Way.
Yeah.
He wanted a price so high, and I knew it was too high. And he was so convinced the market was so strong and would love his house, he wanted to try selling off market first at this really high price. And I actually said to him, perfect, because I think it's too high. But I will absolutely, I'll parade a lot of realtors through who have true buyers. And here's what we'll do if we're able to secure a contract off market. And it was a big no, and got the feedback from all those agents who had come through. So then the feedback was where they thought we should be priced, which is where I had told him from the beginning. But I had gotten him to do, actually, I got him to paint, and I got him to remove a lot of his furniture, and then I paid for staging, which I always do, which is a huge investment. And I got it to look good, but it still needed more, but he was kind of at that limit of what he was willing to do.
Yeah.
And we had showings, but no offers. And this is that tale of two cities. Beautiful brick traditional, but very choppy, and you could not open the kitchen easily to a great room. Those things that for a while weren't as big a deal in the crazy frenzy, and they were absolutely holding us back. So I decided to have an open house, a caravan. And the agent's feedback was all the things that I brought up in the beginning that he was like, nope, I'm not spending another dime. It was pressure wash the outside, remove the screens and do this and that. It was the last bit of cosmetic prep that, and then everybody was saying, you know, you might still need to tweak the price a little bit. So we only tweaked it. Actually, I don't think I even had to change the price. It was more getting him to understand that the market is demanding homes be more pristine, like to your point. And we did go under contract, and we're closing this week.
Did you want a contract pretty quickly after the caravan?
Yeah,
Oh,
once
that's
he
awesome.
did those things, it's
That's
funny.
awesome.
Just trim the bushes back again.
Right.
Make your house look beautiful and sparkly. And
Did you do the caravan and
because you said it was gonna be off market, so.
No, we listed fully when it didn't go off market, and we
Okay.
listed at the price that I felt it should be listed at.
Okay.
And then we still weren't getting traction, and it was because the other homes were just acing us out because they had better floor plans and what the buyers want.
Yeah.
And so, you've got to go back. I used to tell all sellers, there's nothing little. Every single thing matters. It's a
Right.
battle of inches, and I feel like we're back to that.
Yeah.
So
Well,
the
I think-
caravan was great because he
Right.
saw writing after I scanned them,
Right.
sent them over,
Here
and
you go.
That's the one I went to.
yeah.
I say, I
Very
think.
helpful.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's what, like, really the purpose of the caravan, it's not really necessarily to sell it, it's for the stubborn seller.
Yes.
You're telling him all of these things already.
Yeah.
You already told him all of that, but he wasn't in a space to hear it. But then when you get feedback from 10 different agents that all say the same thing, it's like, oh, it's not just Miriam.
What's funny is some of those agents
The experts
thanked
are
me
saying
later because nobody had been doing caravans for
Right.
so long. They used my listing to better price their own listings.
Right, absolutely.
I'll tell you one other thing that's really helpful, and it's so easy, and I know I really love data so much, but this is an easy thing to do. You can format your own, in FMLS, your own view of listings.
Yeah.
So one thing I did in the craziness when everybody wanted to list so high, and also for my own understanding and to show buyers,
Yeah.
I created a format where you include the original price, list price, percent sale to list price, and then I would include the list date and days on market. So,
Mhm.
and then I would rank by percent sale price to list
Right.
price.
Right.
And it was helpful in two huge ways for sellers. And one was when they said what people got for their homes, I said, but I want to show you where they listed.
Right.
Mm.
They listed at a strategic.
Yeah, here's where
price.
they
Yeah.
priced. Here's what they got.
Right.
That's what we need to be careful that we're doing too.
Right.
And I could also point to when they listed. and
Right.
Whether things had changed since then. And then the more powerful thing than that even was when you rank it on percent sale price to list price, what I realized over and over again, all we heard about were how crazy high a lot of listings were going.
There's a lot.
There were a lot that were either at or below
Mm,
list price, even in the frenzy.
right.
And it was just a reminder to me too.
Right, but not every single
Yeah,
house.
and you're not a loser just because
Right.
you're not getting,
Yeah.
75,000
Right.
over.
Well, and that's why I really think that, like, being connected with an office like we're in and looking at data is so helpful because, if you list 10 houses a year, that's a lot of listings in a year. It's impossible to know the breadth of market from 10 houses in 1 year.
I'll
So
tell
it's
you
like,
one other
you
thing.
know your experience, but you need to plug into everybody else's experience.
And you use that same graph or same spreadsheet, because it's easy to just export it, and I would even color code it, and it doesn't take that long. It sounds like a lot, but it's not.
Right.
I would give the same spreadsheet to buyers looking in those areas and showing them, okay, see this house that's a lot like the one you love with the openness and the perfect, look at what it sold above list.
Exactly.
And if you don't want to spend that much, look at the ones that didn't sell that high. You would be willing to
Right.
do
Here's your
some of those
opportunity,
things
yeah.
yourself.
Right, exactly. Right, you don't wanna waive every contingency, then here's what we're looking at. Yeah, I think that's very smart, just to kind of plug into the greater story of what's happening, no matter what your market is. And I do think that it's helpful to understand the buyer perspective as you're listing a property, so it's like plug into your own buyers, ask other agents that might have buyers in your price point area. What's your experience been like? Has there been multiple offers lately that you've lost out on which property? You want to kind of figure that out because that helps your seller so much of, hey, I was talking to somebody with a buyer and this is what they're experiencing right now in the market. So this is helpful feedback for us. It's your
I
finger on
had
the pulse.
3 buyers go under contract in the last week, every single one of them below list price.
Yeah, right, and it's like,
You know what I want to fine tune again is and maybe we can do a different meeting. And I know sometimes appraisers come and talk to us. Maybe I'll just coordinate a meeting with an appraiser, but I need to really revisit the, what do you call it? The adjustments.
The
I
adjustments.
really, because we didn't have to focus quite so
Right.
specifically for a while. Everything was just going over and over.
Absolutely.
I need to go back to how much does a basement really add?
Yeah.
Especially now that the cost of materials and everything has gone up, and
It's
all
so
the
much higher,
contractors
yeah.
are charging way more. And
Right.
taking
Well,
so much longer.
And you see these homes with pools go crazy higher than they
Yes.
would have 2 years ago.
Right,
So
people
even
are going
a
nuts
pool
because you
adjustment,
can't
like
get a pool. Absolutely.
has that, do appraisers also adjust for that more now? I don't even
I
know.
know, like the last appraisal I got that I fought, they gave us $30K for a pool. I'm like, it's gonna cost you $130K to put it in, and you did 2 years, and like, come on, $30K, like, are you kidding me? But you couldn't get them up more.
And that was generous compared to 3 or 4 years ago. It was 10, maybe
Exactly.
20 max.
Oh, that's it, that was always one of my scripts of like, yeah, if you have a pool that's great, good for you, but
It's not gonna
it
add
doesn't
that,
add
yeah.
anything to the value unless you're $1 million plus, so
But
people
now
expect the
it
pool.
does to buyers.
And now it does, yeah.
100%.
I would
It's
like,
very interesting how we had that
hi,
change.
hi, this is Marlene. I would like
Hey,
to
Marlene.
share an experience about the appraisals. So I got this buyer, we found a house and, it wasn't a price. We offer $10,000 above the asking price. We got under contract and everything went well, the inspection. So when we go to the appraisal, but then, when I told my client, yes, you can offer $10,000 because we look at the comparables and there were really not many houses that had been sold there. But there was one that it was exactly the layout my buyer was buying. It was by Mark Spain and it was already under contract and it closed like 2 days later. Very close price that the one that we were going to pay. Anyway, we went to the appraisal and then the appraiser came back and told us that the house that we're buying was $30,000 below the price we were paying. So, and then, I was freaking out and then they sent me the results of the appraisal. And when I reviewed them, the appraiser couldn't find like me any comps in the area. So what he did was to use 3 comparables of houses that had been sold last year.
Oh, God.
Which was a complete remark. But, and it was, like I talked to him and he said, I'm sorry, I cannot go out of the area. There were no more comparables and I have to use those. So
Well,
it
then
was.
it's for market growth.
Exactly, I'm like the gross.
I know. So that's something, that it can happen. And I don't know how often, but, it was a matter of just try to negotiate like with the seller. We came down a little bit he said, I cannot reduce the price from my listing price. That's what I want. So you can meet me there. So at the end, my seller had to make the decision to pay $20,000 above the appraisal price.
Wow.
Which he did, but it was totally his decision. But I'm just telling you, it's important the appraiser and see how they are working now and how they are doing these appraisals because taking comparables from 6 months or far away, I don't know how representative that is and helpful for your clients.
Yeah, November is very different than selling in April this year,
We used Supreme for buyer and it came in 70 low on the first time and my buyers had waived the appraisal. So we submitted, and as a buyer's agent, I do it for my buyers too.
Yeah.
Even though, especially because
Especially when
waived.
you get
Right.
a waiver, you're like,
And the lenders underwriting felt that our data warranted value, but the appraiser dug in his heels. So
So they
they
ordered
got
a new
a
one.
new appraisal and we appraised at the full
Isn't that
price.
amazing? Well, and that's another thing to kind of keep in mind with this market is like, if it doesn't appraise,
You might
there
really
are
want to
some
fight
tricks
it,
up
yeah.
your sleeve, if you can fight that appraisal. If you have to, the buyer can switch, as long as they're conventional, buyer can switch lenders and order a new appraisal and you just try again.
Is that what you had to do, switch lenders or
No,
no?
No,
Supreme
because
allowed it.
Supreme
They
really,
agreed.
validated that
push
it
for
warranted.
another-
Yeah.
Yeah, because that doesn't happen often.
It's hard to get them to do that, so it's awesome.
Yeah.
It really says a lot
Well,
about this.
and they had faith in the first appraiser, but I gotta say, when I showed up and it just happened that both agents were Quan agents, and so the listing agent was grateful that I also wanted to give data, because I've bought and sold in the neighborhood too, and I was talking about the value of being on the Gold Branch, and I said, are you familiar with all these trails around here? Oh yeah, I'm a big hiker, I've hiked my whole life, I know this area like the back of my hand. I said, you must love the Gold Branch. He said, what's the Gold Branch?
Oh, God.
And I thought, he does not know this area like the back of his hand.
Right.
And we butted, we were adjacent to the Gold Branch, which is magnificent and adds
Right.
value. And so that's one of the things I used when I explained to Supreme, he wasn't even familiar with these trails and this natural nature, this
Right.
national preserve. And I think that's part of how we end up getting so much more value put back in.
Right.
And then DS Murphy came in, and they are true experts in the area.
They really are,
And
yeah.
so it was a trustworthy appraisal,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And that's something to rely on is, like, you don't have to just accept when it doesn't appraise. It's like, and that was what we had to
You
do.
can at least try.
You can at least try, and if the buyer, and you don't have to, it's like, yeah, if the buyer has to switch lenders, they have to switch lender. There's one lender I know of that offers rescue. For a rescue, he'll eat the cost himself of the appraisal.
Right.
So I tell my buyers, yeah, this stinks, and I don't want you to have to pay for another appraisal. I actually have a lender.
That's great.
The thing is, when I had my low appraisal earlier this year, they had locked in at a rate that didn't exist anymore. So
you
they're
can-
like,
Yeah.
it's worth it for us to eat the cost
Yes,
versus
right.
doing it. I was like, okay, that's
Yeah.
your prerogative, but it's part of the story.
what are your guys' thoughts on pre-listing appraisals in this market then,
I still
like for your sellers?
pretty rarely do them. I know that like there's some agents that do them, Dennis O'Reilly's been every single one.
Yeah.
Right.
I still only recommend them if there's just not comps.
Something unusual
Right.
about the house.
Yeah.
If
There's
I
some
can't
lots
come up with something
Yeah,
So
I feel
unique.
comfortable with.
right. Yeah, if I really can't get the comps, then it makes sense. But the thing, I think the double-edged sword, the negative part of it is obviously it costs money, but also then it really cements in the seller's mind.
Yes.
Oh, it appraised at XYZ price, I
Yes.
will sell it for XYZ price. Well, that was one appraiser's opinion, that's not the market's opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you can't get that price for them, that's gonna be a harder price reduction conversation with that seller.
Where were you said 3 different buyers under list, where and what price points?
I have been across, it's not
Everywhere.
Dallas. Then
What was that price?
1.5.
That's great.
And they had
Dallas.
priced it at 1,699, but they had originally priced it at 1.5.
So you-
I'm like, who is gonna come in with that,
Right.
And then Douglasville.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and we were at 768. They started off at 879, but we're at
Wow.
825 and then dropped to 795 and we're at 768. And
I didn't know
then
that grew up so much out there.
and then Fayetteville, which I had never.
Wow.
I know, look at that for all these places.
An animal.
Okay, it's the same buyer as Dallas and they're cash at because we're at 340 on a 350.
And they're doing that for investment properties?
No.
Nothing wrong with
Share with
that.
It wasn't this last one, it's 790, was it?
That's really
It
interesting.
was crazy.
Yeah,
Tell it when
that's
we're not on.
crazy.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
That is very interesting.
Well, no, this was super helpful, and thank you guys for engaging and hopping on. I think, again, more than ever, agent relationships with other agents matter and are helpful. So it's like, if you're going into a listing presentation and you have no clue what comps to use or what price range to give, reach out to, we're all here for each other, so. And that's kind of the bonus of being Keller Williams is you've got a bunch of people on your side, so. I think that's all we got. No, you guys, really, somebody just got sick this morning, so I was like, I guess I'm here too. Sure.
I'm thinking about you.
It's the beauty.
dresses are always so.
I
pretty. Oh, I
just-
keep looking cute.
How you feel?
Of course, it had to be the summer where it's 100 degrees forever.
Even June was just like, oh,
Yeah,
what about it?
Yeah,
And then it's like getting up and I'm the back.
Yeah.
Nice saving grace.
Good, good, but after we do
You know what?
that.